Welcome back to the Perform Podcast for episode 9. Today we'll be joined by Andrew Ferguson, looking a little bit different today, much smaller. But yeah, unfortunately the sound didn't work perfectly, so it might drop in and out a little bit, might not be the best quality, but the contents of the conversation is very good. So stick around, and thank you, Ferg, again for taking the time out to drop some knowledge. Welcome back to the Perform Podcast. Joined with, we're pretty much 2.5 people. Got 1.5 in Ferg and 1 in myself, so it's not 2.5 coaches, but it's 2.5 people today. So welcome, Andrew Ferguson.
Thank you very much. Get upset Coach Keith's here to make it 3, but I'm very happy with it.
All about the uneven numbers. So for anyone who doesn't know who you are, obviously everyone who's seen you in here is like, Jesus, who's that guy? He's pretty tall. Does he play basketball? All right, so everyone knows you as the tall guy in the gym. Give us a little bit more of a background on what sport you play and the most recent season, and then I think it'd be cool to dive back into the start of your career and then go from there.
Yeah, sounds good. As most people guess, I've played basketball. Good majority of my life, and managed to play in Japan in these last 2 seasons. So been over in Japan, was 2 different teams over there. Originally went over there as a practice player, just to get my foot in the door, and was in the top league with a team called Shimane, and played with Nick Kay, you might know from the Wildcats. Probably shouldn't have didn't play too much, but that was a crazy situation itself. From there managed to land in a lower league team in Japan still called Toyota Gasai Scorpions, and spent like 1.5 years with them, which was pretty unreal experience.
Yeah, cool. It looked like it was pretty fun over there, and I think just from the outside looking in, like the Japan league seems like pretty strong across, like even though you're saying like obviously like Nick Taylor and that with your initial exposure was in that top league, but even playing in the lower league, like the comp's pretty strong. Like how would you compare that competition to like say NBL1 here?
It's hard to compare because it's quite different. Like NBL1 probably playing more like FIBA relevant basketball. That doesn't really make sense, but more similar to FIBA basketball. Otherwise, Japan, because naturally a lot of the guys are shorter, like there's lots of guards over there, and then they only kind of bring in bigs, 4 and 5 big guys as imports. So they some teams are a bit more up to date, but a lot of teams still play a bit of the older school basketball with lots of big bigs, slow down the game, lots of post-ups, ISO with the big guys, and now it's starting to get a bit more into the pick and roll game, which you're kind of seeing internationally. But so it's just a bit different, but I would say it's probably a bit above NBL1 West level, the league I would say the 3rd league I was in. That was probably a little bit above just because the quality of the import bigs was very high, but at the same time, like guards here could absolutely play in that league. But it's just different, you know. Just financially, like in Japan, from the 1st league, it's crazy money, but all the way down to the 3rd league, because they still have a lot of big company sponsorships and that kind of thing. Just the money is really starting to grow in Japan, but the Asian market especially, and those markets are really starting to grow. Like you're seeing a lot of ex-NBA guys going to those leagues now, and when it used to be Europe was it's the NBA or Europe, and obviously the NBL is right up there as well. Because of that, they're starting to get mostly bigs from Europe, lure them away just with the money, and also it's a good place to work, to be honest, in terms of all the teams. They pay you on time, they look after you, they treat you right mostly. Like, you don't always get that in Europe. You hear some horror stories. It's really, obviously Europe is a huge place, like country to country, it's very specific, but just with those kind of risks and whatever, guys are starting to look more towards those Asian markets in Japan.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't think of that. Like, you just assume that like you're in a professional organisation, like you get paid on time and all that kind of stuff. So that'd be cool to maybe like as we go through your career progression to kind of dive into a little bit more. even as like if you're an aspiring athlete, like that's just stuff that you don't really even consider, and even probably interested in ask you about like the process of getting an agent and that kind of thing too. But before we get there, we're keen to just go like right back to the start of how you started your basketball career, and then like all the stepping stones along the way that led to being in Japan most recently. So, I mean, I think you were the age group above me, if I recall correctly. And I just remember Ferg being that huge guy that played at Lakeside. It was okay, but he was just, the classic. He's just tall, like that's why he's on the team. But yeah, I remember, occasionally playing against you if I played up, but always kind of knowing of you and seeing you. And then you kind of just disappeared and went to the Centre of Excellence. So do you want to talk about how that kind of came about?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it was probably like most other kids, like played very sporty kid, like very sporty family. So played cricket and footy when I was young, but kind of played a bit of every sport. And it wasn't until basketball, I reckon 8 or 9, I started playing basketball. One of my mates was just like, you've got to come play for our team down at Willerton domestic for that high ticket use. And yeah, I was like, also, as you said, just string bean kid, like just tall and so skinny. And like footy was just starting to get crunched as footy got more physical than that. And I was like, oh geez, don't want to be doing this every week. And with basketball just being, head taller than everyone, just put the arms up, stand the key way, get the rebounds, miss the shot, get my rebound again and put it in. And it was like, oh, this isn't too bad. It's pretty fun. So yeah, that's kind of how basketball happened, and kind of kept playing for a few years, like all the sports. And then by 13 kind of went, my parents, I think, were like, nah, like, one for your own body, because,
being up at footy.
Yeah, just like growing kid, like knee pain, all that kind of stuff. Like, they're just like, it's better just you're playing wobble basketball, and got offered to play like district cricket, and that kind of, and it was just like, it's getting too much on your body was one, and two, it's too much for them, like driving you around everywhere, and had already done like the under 12 state team, whatever, and they kind of foresaw, you want to keep going to this path, it's going to be a lot of money and trips and travel and sacrifice from there, which it is no matter what. But every sport and every kid, like, shout out to your parents.
Yeah, I think that's a huge shout out to all the parents who are driving the kids everywhere, volunteering. I know my mum was like a manager for the team. And then the sacrifices to like, if you get into a representative team, go into state or something like that, like you, as a kid, you're just like, this is sick, like I get to do all this stuff, it's cool. But then you forget about maybe some of the kids who don't necessarily, like their families are just unable to afford all the expenses of like traveling and that kind of thing. So it's just like, want to get the opportunity, but then also to have the means to be able to make the most of those opportunities is huge.
Yeah, 100%. So went with basketball, and yeah, from there, just with my height and a bit of potential. Luckily, it wasn't, as you said, wasn't the most talented junior, but had a bit of a shot, a bit of touch, which coaches liked the combination. So from there, like kind of made your NRTP and all your wobbles, and didn't try it for the under 16s state team. Probably should have, just didn't want any part of it at the time. And then made the top age 16s and was a real like bench guy, not very like not good enough to be honest at the time. But again, like just growing into my body and still figuring out, where my arms and legs were, it takes a while. But got really motivated from that tournament, especially like really kind of got a chip on my shoulder a little bit. I remember just having like moments where okay, like I'm gonna get good, because I kind of, you think you're decent, putting up, decent, amount of points, checking your score, the top scorers, and your top 10 or whatever, and wobble, like, I'm pretty good. And then you go nationals and you go against all these other guys. And I think everyone kind of has a similar experience in their first nationals, where, especially being so far away in WA, you don't get to verse all these teams on the East Coast, but they're versing each other a lot, so they kind of earlier on get a gauge of
where they're
sitting. So yeah, kind of then going over and going, okay, like I'm not up to that standard yet. Like I'm gonna try to take this a bit more seriously and just work hard. And then that was probably a pretty good moment for me, like just in terms of starting to get that right mentality and everything. Kind of going from there.
So that kind of almost like facilitated, like everyone obviously saw that potential. It's like, this guy's tall. Like that's first and foremost, like everyone's seeing that in you. But would you say like that was kind of your first moment, that nationals kind of like, oh, like I'm not there, but I see that potential, and then that's kind of what motivated you from there?
Yeah, I'd say so. And was always quite like hard on myself. Like always didn't just want to be tall, like wanted to be up to the level and all that kind of thing. And from there managed to make the under 18s bottom age team. And again, was like was probably in that squad because the potential, but I would say also a bit of like I developed just a bit of grit. From there went to the 18s tournament. Again, like I think I played like 2 minutes the first game, but as the tournament went on, like kept playing more and more. And just like I was literally like blowing layups, but I was like getting my rebound because I was just like I still didn't quite have it, but I was like I had that, I'd experienced the nationals and like the level, and kind of like started to through the ITP and stuff start to get up to the level a little bit, and just have that mentality of like don't really care, I'm just going to go out there, play hard, all that kind of stuff, and just I really actually enjoyed, we didn't do very well, but I really enjoyed the older boys and that kind of stuff, and they were supportive of me, and I just went and played hard for the older boys, and that was kind of my way to fit in, like, I'm going to do it. And that was in Canberra, and again, like I can average like 5 and 5 or something, but just like gave it a crack, and ended up starting a bunch of games, like the games by the end of the tournament, and that was kind of how I got on the AIS's radar. Like had the Australian coach Summer Minus, and then Capes was the AIS coach, watching a couple of games, and then straight after the tournament they got me in to just do a medical with them, just test out my body, like see the kinks, all that kind of stuff, and that was kind of the start of the whole AIS stuff.
And so did you then come back after that, and then it was still like a while until like a formal invitation?
So I think pretty soon after that I went on like a 2-week
like camp kind of thing.
Like a camp. Like it was like the under 17s team had gone on a trip, so a bunch of those guys won scholarships. They were going and they're like, let's bring some younger guys in. They brought me, Angus Glover, who both ended up going there. Reece Vague actually went there. And a few of the older boys gave I think 3 guys my age, and then 3 older guys. And we were just there for 2 weeks and just training with them and that. And again, it was a real eye opener. Like I was like, okay, like I'm off, and to be fair, it's like you're going against like Reece, who's like 3 years older than me and way better than me at the time, and Xavier Cooks, who's now
MVP of the NBL.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're going against some good guys. Yeah, exactly. Some good competition. So it's like you're supposed to be against just like continually kind of being like, okay, like I'm not up to it yet, but like I can see it. Like and it just kept like feeling that little bit of like the pride stuff. Just all right, like I'm gonna get better. Like so did that. Jock Landale was there as well. That didn't help either. He was like a big boy at that time. Like he was 7 foot. He was new to basketball, and like he probably said by his own admission, like was probably carrying a few extra kilos. But I remember like he was like 3 years older than me. He was just bullying. Nature Y was practicing his own come back. He was so funny because it was like me, like I'm probably like 90 kilos, like, you know, like 6'10", 90 kilos, and he would be like 130, maybe even more. He'd had a really bad injury over in Europe, like someone cracked his skull, and he was rehabbing from that. And he was the nicest guy, like, just so, it was me and another, like, younger big, we're going against him as well, like, there's not a lot you can do in the poke, like, still.
Good effort, mate.
Yeah, I'm not trying to post up Nate July now, you know what I mean, like, for we're going to post
I feel
up.
like for anyone who doesn't know who Nate July is, we're going to have to insert a photo here of what Nate July looks like, and for more context, the nickname was Outback Shaq, like, he literally is the Australian version of Shaquille O'Neal. So that's what Ferg. How old would you have been then?
15.
15.
Yeah.
15-year-old Ferg, 90 kilos, just going up against Shaq.
It was so funny. We're posting up, and he's like telling us, like, spin. And we spin, that's the score, and like just like going around us. Like, good guy.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Like, I think it speaks to a lot to your mentality around it as well, which is obviously like something that you're quite passionate about. But so many people in those situations, like, you're going against guys who are so much better than you, getting beaten up day in, day out at this 2-week camp. Like, so many people could easily be, man, I'm just not up to scratch. Basketball's not for me. Let me give something else a crack. But through this whole process, you were always like motivated. Like, I'm almost there. I've just got to keep getting better. And then, like, you can see, not necessarily light at the end of the tunnel, but like you can see like that stepping stone to the next progression. Like, where did that mindset come from? Was it just something you always had, or something that was cultivated in you through a mentor or anything?
Don't get me wrong, I definitely had those moments too. Man, like, you know, obviously no one enjoys just getting beaten up, that kind of thing. I think I always just had that little bit of belief, like, even though at times I've lacked a belief in the present, if that makes sense. Like, in the moment, there's been times when I'm like, man, like, I can't, you know, like, I'm struggling, I don't know if I can do it, blah, blah, blah. But I think I've always had like a bigger picture vision of, I've always been like, you know what, I can do this, and I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And that was also built as well. Like, I think, you know, you do it over and over again, you experience it, and there's been like way more failures in my like time playing basketball. Like, I've been not good enough, you know, like lost, whatever, like all those kind of, like, a lot more of those negative feelings, to be honest, than the positive ones. But I don't know how, but I've always just had that inner belief that, you know, it obviously hurts someone, but I've been able to get back on the horse. So that's probably one of the biggest things I'm probably proud of, and like, probably can hang my head on, you know, like hang my hat on. Like, it's like, I always have just kind of had that, but I've also been I've worked hard to foster it, and like looking into things like your stoicism recently, and that, you know, it's kind of, I don't know if it gets a bad name now with a lot of the other stuff. Like, it's a bit, it can be kind of overhyped, but just like at its core, it's kind of just not riding the waves of the highs and the lows of every emotion, and just trying to stay pretty level, which is so much easier said than done. I think I'm naturally a bit more inclined to that anyway. And then I've been able to really work on it to kind of just realize, like, man, if I ride all these highs and lows, like, especially as you become, like, you go through college and professional, you've got lots of setbacks, lots of like quick turnarounds, blah blah blah. Like, you know, it's gonna be really hard. So finding ways to just stay more even keel and do that, I think that's definitely helped.
No, 100%. Like, obviously, like, part of that's just like who you are as a person, but then through those experiences, you kind of like almost reinforcing that as well, and then showing it to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, there's so many different things I could kind of look at. I know, like, we did like a boot camp type thing at the AIS. So put this in perspective, like, long story short, I ended up going to the AIS, and after the first 6 months, I was just like, man, I'm again, like, so far up from people. Like, it was the definition of like big fish in a small pond in WA, and then you get over there and you're going against like great players. Like, you Jack White's, Will McNay, like, you know, all these DJ Vasiljevic, like all these great players every day, and they're older than you, they're better than you, like they're being, you know what I mean? Like you're every day, and it's a highly competitive environment. Like it's not somewhere where they're cats, all right? Like you know, like the people that you know, and you're constantly being challenged. It's hard, but so for reference, after the first 6 months, I'm like, man, like I don't want to go back. Like, it was really hard because it was like this was my dream of making it to this place, and then I'm like, oh, like, and for some reason, even though I had got there through a level of hard work, but nowhere near the level I needed again. Like each level, the level of hard work just keeps going up. And for some reason, I had this in my mind. I was so fixated on, I got to get to the AIS, I got to get to the AIS. And then when I made it to the AIS, I was almost like, oh, like, it's just going to happen now. Yeah. Like, I'm in the system and life's good. You know what I mean? Like that's all I need to do. And then you get there and you get a kick in the face. It's like, okay, like every week we're going to try and up the amount of sessions, the load and everything. And it was hard. But again, it's just like, that's just like another brick, you know what I mean, to the wall. Like it's like that, going through that every day, that builds some resilience. And then at the start of the second year, so I went, okay, like I'm just going to go back and give it a couple of months. Like I talked to a few people. I had Rob Beveridge on the phone, who was an ex-AIS coach and professional coach, like really, really good coach. And he was like, look, just give it another month, you know, like what's the worst that can happen? Did that and got there, and just like a new year, new group, everything. Just as soon as I got there, I was like, you know what, like this is alright. Like, I'll be alright. And then anyway, pretty much straight away, we did this boot camp, and it was like former special forces cops, you know, like that kind of thing. Like a lot of the professional teams do, and they'd done it the year before with a different group, and they were just told us like, it's scary, you know what I mean? Like we were just like, this is not going to be fun, you know. And we did it, and it was like genuinely maybe one of the best, like if not the best thing I've done, like one of the best things I've ever done, because it's just like there's 36 hours of them just consistently pushing you out of your comfort zone. Like I was vomiting in the first like 30 minutes, and they're like, all right, well, you guys are cooked, you've got another
that sucks for you. Like we're still going on 35 and a half hours.
And they're not telling you how long you've got, they're just saying like, you're in trouble here, like you know, like we do push-ups and all these big kids like with long arms trying to do these push-ups. They're like 100 push-ups, then we get to like 10 and like everyone's just cooked, and like, all right, well, we're going to have to find another punishment now.
This is painful for us watching you. I think let's find something else.
Legit. Yeah, it was pretty much like up all night doing all this different stuff, and at the end of it, you're like genuinely everyone just like sat in the shower for like an hour, just washing off all the mud and reevaluating everything, you know. But like I was generally like, that was such a tool for my bus, you know, a tool to put on the belt afterwards, because I was just like, for everything else, I was like, all right, well, that's the hardest thing I'm gonna do physically. Like, you know, like nothing's gonna compare to that. So anything else after this, like I'll be able to face it. I know it's still gonna suck. Like we did jump in ahead again at college. We had a very similar thing where our coach, when we first got there, was just like, to our strength conditioning coach, like every day it's like, I want you to make someone quit. Like we're doing all this crazy boot camp stuff, like in the middle of summer, it's so hot, and like they just didn't care. Like they're like, we don't want someone folding in during the season, so we're gonna like root out the weakness now. And it was brutal. Like I don't know if it was necessarily the best way to go about it, but at the same time, I was like, doing that again, it strengthens you. But having that basis of all the boot camp we'd done, I was like, I'm gonna be fine here. Like I might be last in the race or you know whatever we're doing, but like I'm not gonna quit because I know I have that extra gear. And I don't think some of the other freshmen necessarily had that coming in because they hadn't done something like it. You know, I think like so much of it is your experience and how you how you then analyze that and think about it. Like, do you think about it as like something where you're like, that sucked, like I'd never want to do that again, like that was BS, you know, like kind of stuff? Or do you think about it as in like, oh, that was like the worst, but I'm so glad we did that because now like I know I can have a higher base than before. So it's like I've done it.
Yeah, and I think that's like something that I battle back and forth, and even like talking with sports coaches, and obviously like, you know, get similar, like a lot of SNCs will probably battle that at some point in their career, where if you're working, especially if you're working with a team where the sport coach comes out and says, these guys are soft, we need to build some mental toughness, and like put them through the ringer, and you're like, I've always kind of gone like, that's unnecessary. Like, you know, you kind of look at it from maybe like the what you've explained about the kind of stuff you did at college. Like, that's probably a bit excessive, but maybe something like shorter, like boot camp, and as long as you allow, you know, enough recovery and all that kind of stuff. I think like some people just get caught up in doing the boot camp and then just going straight back into training. So it's like, as long as you at least allow everyone to recover, because it's obviously huge stress on the body. But like you were saying, just that experience is just invaluable to be able to tell that to yourself and show that to yourself that you can do that, raise that baseline. It's just like, sweet, anything that comes at me, like I know I can handle that now.
100%. I don't think I always got that right either. Like, I think at college I got very much into the mindset, especially probably start of college, like first 2 years, I reckon. I really like bought into everything they were saying, and like all the work and kind of stuff, but I didn't, and just gone like, all right, like again, like this is such a common thing, but it's like, I redshirted, I came in with an injury, but again, like it was like, okay, like I really need to develop my body, like these guys are still stronger than me, all that kind of stuff, like more athletic, so it was like, one, getting back to baseline for my foot, but then getting to that level again, I was like, I gotta work like a madman, you know, and doing all these extras. I remember, because you redshirt, you do all these extra sessions, and like we do the Versa climber, which it's hard to explain if you don't know it. Like, look it up.
But
it
looks. I've never done it. It's very popular in the US.
Very for
sure. I don't think I've ever seen one in Australia. But it's a huge one. You always see the basketball guys. And it looks like it sucks, and I'm sure. But how do you fit? Like,
it actually helps because I've got a longer reach. You can
so you get more out of it.
It's funny sometimes. Like the shorter guys, I went this walk on. He's for like 5'8", and he's got short arms. He's going ham on it. He's getting no distance because he's not maximizing his reps. We did that like every second day pretty much as a redshirt freshman. Like, it was a big conditioning thing, but then as the season goes on, the guys that are playing are touching it. You know, they're barely getting in the gym, just doing their, you know, maintenance during the season and stuff. I was the redshirt guys that are doing.
So that's your work.
Exactly, that's your season. And then I won the best climber, and I would genuinely make myself yak every second time I was on it. Like, I just like wanted to push that hard. Like, you know, that was such a identity thing for me. I'm going to go like outworking everyone in the sessions and whatever. But then it was just like, they're telling me I need to put on weight. I'm not putting on any weight because I'm just trying to go ham in everything. Like, I'm not prioritizing my recovery at all. I'm too cooked from all the sessions, and trying to smash the, do well academically as well. And just, you know, all balancing all that, it's like you're trying to go ham, but you're not actually getting as much benefit as you could. Like, mentally, I was getting all the benefit. Definitely developed a 3-point shot over that time, which really helped going forward. But I didn't serve myself as well, because the biggest thing I had to do was get stronger, like, you know, get gains in the gym, and I just couldn't do that because I was just constantly going over it. And it wasn't until after my second year, so I haven't wasted 2 years, but I've tried that for 2 years, barely had any gains, and it wasn't until I kind of just said, I see clearly what I need to do. I'm not going to touch a basketball for like 2 months at college, and I'm just going to do the team lifts. Like, I did the team, we had a bit of time off, and then the team was just doing your own individual, some individual stuff and whatever, and some practices, and I'd do that, but like I wouldn't do any extras. I'd literally just be like getting in the gym an extra 2 to 3 times a week, like, and just eating like crazy. Like, there was a little student gym downstairs from where we live, so I was just just going ham in the gym, and I put on like 15 kilos and not all the best kilos, but like felt so much better on court, not off the, like I was a bit too heavy. My knees started, you know, it's always balanced, but I was like, that's all like, okay, like, before I was like, I can't put on weight, but I was like, okay, I couldn't put on weight. It's just prioritizing properly.
Yeah.
And finding that balance it is so hard. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's mostly working smarter, not harder, but every now and then
you got to test them, and
you
that's
just got to show yourself you got that. You got
that extra gear. Yeah, I think that's a huge one for basketball, is trying to put on weight. I think like you're doing so much stuff on court, like the amount of times we've mapped this out for maybe a teenager boy, or like even like some of the older guys, like in the 18, 20, like I just can't put on weight. I'm like, right, let's map out, like just showing them how much they actually have to eat. You know, like this is how much you need to eat just to maintain your current body weight. And like, because you're doing this much training, like you're on court 2 hours a day, you got 3 to 4 lifts a week, plus you're playing a game on the weekend. And then they're like, oh, I'm like not even eating half of that at the moment. And I was like, well, and then you got to eat more than that to gain weight.
Yeah.
So it's like, even not necessarily always the way to do it, because you still want to obviously get your skills and stuff in, but like just loading, like taking that load off a little bit so you don't have to eat quite as much. That just makes it a bit more achievable.
Yeah.
Did you have anyone at like on the staff or anything that had that conversation with you? Because I know like of friends who have been in situations where it's just like they're in the same kind of mindset, like, oh, I'm behind the 8 ball, I've got to work my ass off and show everyone that I'm working my hardest, and also prove to myself that I'm working my hardest. But then a coach just come and touch on the shoulder, like, hey man, like, I know you're working hard, but like you're shooting yourself in the foot a bit because you're not able to recover, you're not actually getting any benefit out of all this extra stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, did anyone have that conversation with you?
Not necessarily, but I did have 2 really good conversations. One with the strength coach at that time, where I just said, look, like, I can't put on weight here. And he was like, he really mapped out what the nutrition should look like. Like, he was like, you know, don't quote me on, like, I'm probably misrepresented, said it pretty much is like, we want like this third of the plate to be protein, this third of carbs, this third to be veggies, and like it might have even been more protein. Like you just like, you know, then you want that is like your meat, your veggies first, then get your carbs, but pretty much just being like, I wasn't getting enough protein. And then, yeah, exactly. It's still hard to get, you know, like how much protein I want to get, like, you know. And yeah, just mapping that out, which was a big one for me. And just kind of talking to me through my nutrition and doing the little diary, you know, little journal for a week so I could see. And then the other one was I had a coach who, he was a cool dude actually, so it was Coach Carter. He was a bit different, he'd been around the block, I coached a lot of different places, and he really just broke it down for me. He's like, you're not actually that far away. And like, all we're going to do is just like, he just took me for the whole summer, like all the individual workouts I did with him. And it was just like threes and post hooks. And he's just like, with his post hooks, he break it down to like, we're going to like jump as high as we can on this hook. Like, it's like, you're not like, I was struggling with my athleticism as well, which is a bad combo. Don't be unathletic and weak. That's not, you know, it's, and again, like if you are, it's okay. I was like, I have been for a long, long time. You can find ways around it, but it's not the best combo in basketball. And
it helps when you're 7 foot.
It doesn't. That's a nice thing to an extent.
For us shorter guys, if you're weak and unathletic and short, forget about it. Pick something else.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. But yeah, so he was just like getting me to just like jump as high as I could on the hooks and just like break it down to such a minute detail, where before it felt like everything was like all the workouts were chaotic. They're trying to, you know, get you into the game situations, but it was almost just like it's too much to work on, blah blah blah.
Too much too soon.
He really just like simplified it, said this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to build it around. And that's something which I built my game on after that, like I transferred after that period. And it was really what helped me when I next to college and going forward. And that's something which I've really thought about since, like both taking the time to just do the strength stuff and, prioritizing exactly what I needed. And then again, that like just simplifying it, those are two great like pivotal things for me.
Yeah. I think like this was something that I often preach, like that other end of the spectrum of if you're more so talking for like if you're already strong, like you need to focus on the other stuff which is built into your overall athleticism, but having that strength base is obviously still very important, especially for a bigger guy like you, and being able to, like just the strength alone just to handle the amount of basketball you're doing is super important. And then also on the flip side of the skill stuff, like a lot of people spend too much time on that controlled environment, and then I'm trying to encourage people to get to that bit more chaotic. But like you're saying, if you haven't nailed the skills yet, like there's no point in introducing too much chaos because you're not going to be able to execute it under that pressure. So it's like in different phases, like knowing when to concentrate on a certain thing is huge as well.
Such a balance. Like I wish I played more when I was a kid and just open gyms and all that kind of stuff. Like because in like your practices and your games, you're always going to have that constraint of not wanting to mess up. Like not obviously people have different ranges of that, but I've always been very much that way. Like very want to do things right, be almost a conservative approach, like play within my skill set and that kind of thing.
Not explore outside
exactly.
of that,
and I think like just playing, like I saw this thing from Jack McVeigh, which he posted. He was just talking about, I think he said he spent like 70% of the summer, maybe even more, like playing one-on-one, playing competitively, and I was like, man, that's very good stuff. But again, you can do that after you have the baseline of all your skills and all that, you have that tendency. It's such a balance. Yeah. I think most people in general probably I don't know, for myself, I'm like kind of the same. I spent so much more so just situationally like doing all that skill work because I was doing a lot of it by myself. And I wish I had done like a little bit more like playing ones, playing open gym, where you're kind of exploring everything that you've just worked on. I think so many people, like, you practice the same shot over and over, and it's like, well, you play like 3 games and then you didn't actually take that shot anyway. Like, it's like having a wide variety of skills is so important for a sport like basketball, but then also having like your strengths and knowing when to go to that as well. And like knowing that you've done the work in that too is also huge. And even from like a strength perspective, like knowing that you're strong, like, and feeling that confidence in yourself is massive. I feel like if you feel like you're not that strong, you just don't have that little bit of swagger that you get from knowing that you can like push someone around. And that's like, as a big man who's going to be going into a lot more physicality compared to a guard, like I'm sure that was huge. Like knowing that I'm not going to get pushed out of position from someone who's like maybe the same size or a little bit bigger, I can hold my own. I'm sure that would have been massive. 100%.
Like circling back to that initial experience at AIS when you are not that strong person and you are getting just shoved around. It's like, did you feel like that difference as you got stronger? Like, all right, I can hold my base, I can hang with this like bigger, more experienced older guys.
100%. I think, to be honest, like just with my body and really filling out, like I've probably only got that the last couple of years. But yeah, it's such a difference. Not going to have to. Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned briefly, so you played at a couple of different colleges while you were over there. So how was that process? So you started redshirt. So for someone who doesn't know much about college, or if you don't know much about basketball either, like what's redshirting mean?
Redshirting is you just sit out here, you don't play, you still practice with the team, you still do everything else, but because you don't play, you get an extra year on the back. So you can either medical redshirt, where if you're injured, you can't play, then you get a 5th year compared to you get 4 years of playing. So you get another year, or you can just redshirt from the get-go. There was 4 of us which did that because we were quite an old and good team. when we first got there, and you just don't play, practice the whole year, and then the thought is always you're going to be a lot better. When you're 23 compared to 18, it seems a bit very much a development thing. A lot of people just going into that. I did that my first year. My second year, we did a coaching change, and then it was like there was two bigs ahead of us. There was four bigs, and it wasn't ideal. Like for me, the other two bigs were very good players, both have had professional careers afterwards. And also I definitely didn't suit the system that well. So start off the year not playing, but as in a few injuries occurred, got in, actually did pretty well. Like at that point I was purely just a shooter and came in and shot the ball pretty well. But then as the year went on and the other picks came back, lost my spot on the rotation, it happens. But then just the communication, started getting no reps in practice and just kind of completely cut out, and there was never the communication, which definitely happens. Like as a college coach, you're trying to focus on your main guys. That's the essence of it. It's hard to, there was 15 to 20 players on the roster. But as a player, it still hurts, and I could have handled better. I should have just gone in and had a conversation and kind of, asked what's up, but I took that quite to heart. And kind of that really made me start to go, okay, like, am I really valued here? And the answer for me was not really. I was, but not to, the level of I knew I was giving it everything. So I was like, okay, this is probably not the best spot to be in, especially just knowing what feel hard over these last 2 years. I need to play now. I've got all I can out of shooting threes by myself and, 2-on-2s on court and all that kind of stuff that I just need to play, develop. I think that's a huge message I'd go back and say, I definitely did make the right choice in college, because I was so I got to be D1, and I didn't suit the college I went to. Maybe I could have found a lower D1, which would have suited me. Again, I couldn't earn that at the time. When I came in, there was only one other big on the roster, and after I signed, they signed 12 bigs. That's the business of it. But that's also not to scare anyone off D1. If you're D1, go D1. But that's the nature of it. It's the school I was at, University of San Diego, is a mid-major, so not your Dukes, not your top, but still a good league, and because of the league they play in, first St. Mary's and Gonzaga, as well as being in San Diego, which is a beautiful spot, one of the best spots in the States for sure. They can recruit us easily, and there was consistently while I was there, new big guys getting coming on recruiting trips and all that kind of stuff, and you're just all right,
maybe this is in the face.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when they're trying to recruit enough.
Right, I've been here for 2 years.
The crazy thing with college is as you get older, you're the one hosting them, looking after them. You're part of this. They message a couple of other guys. It's alright, you gotta, look after them over here. And how I was you're always cool with them and nice or whatever, but just
this guy could be taking my spot. It actually sucks,
legit. So eventually, I actually loved it in San Diego. It went really hard. I really enjoyed the college, and just to be honest, everything else that came with it, it was, just fun, all the parties and all that kind of stuff. It was such a good time. I had some good friends there, but I really had this moment where do you want to just stay there and, do that stuff? But I've got friends and family that obviously I love, they're my people back in Australia. If I really just am there for the vibes, then I may as well do that in Australia. You know what I mean? What am I there for? I'm there for basketball. I'm putting it all in off the court, on the court. So it was just all right. Well, time, I need to transfer and find a situation which suits me better. Was really lucky at that time. I was training with the Cats. So that gave me a great basis. I was training with them, really getting better and really developing. So I was I'm actually getting better here in this system. They looked after me so well over that time. And then, just was with them for 6 months while I transferred. went to a new school, Cal State Monterey Bay, D2, just because I have a great connection with the coach, first and foremost, really, really good guy, Coach Isaac. And then the guys there, I just really clicked with them. And I was like, I had a few bigger D2s and a few D1s, but I was like, I'm not seeing out another year, which I would have had to if I went D1. And the D2s, I just like, not the right vibes for me. Like, I really made sure it felt like the right place. It felt like that, and made a really like educated and I would say like emotionally intelligent decision as well. Just a place where I was like, I don't feel like I need someone to just like yell at me anymore and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm self-sufficient, I'm doing the work. I need someone which is like going to kind of back me in and maybe help give me the confidence, which I've lacked at times, and found that like answer on that Monterey. So yeah, that was really big.
Yeah, I think it's a huge message, like something that I've heard a lot from even like guys like Matt Hayne as he was going over to college, and a few other guys that I've trained, like as they're in that recruitment process and picking colleges, like a lot of the advice is like, don't worry about the school name, don't worry about what division they are, like the situation that's best suited for you and your development. Like, so many people are hell-bent on going D1 for one, but then also trying to get like a really good school. And it's like, you realize like, unless you're like, obviously, like you said before, like if you're there and you are that standard and you're going to be like playing minutes, like go there. That makes sense. But for a lot of people, they may be jumping up a little bit too high for where they are in that current moment, and like they could use something else as a stepping stone to get there. Because like if you're going to a school like that, you might end up in a similar situation where like you're riding the bench, you're not getting many reps in a practice, and like we were just saying before, it's like that live play, active playing, game day, playing against good opponents, like that's going to be so much more critical for your development long term. And that could be the stepping stone to then getting to D1. Was like picking the right situation for you is so big.
100%. One of my college, K1 actually told me before I left, like he was like in general, people, you probably want to go to school worse than you think your level is, because you're always going to think your level, or like where you're going to get to is a bit higher. It sounds very pessimistic at the time. It's hard to take as a 17, 18-year-old, and I did listen to her looking back, like, it was true. And it's just hard because you can't tell someone like, oh, like, you know what I mean? You don't want to knock someone's confidence especially when they're young and all that kind of stuff. And like, it's so hard to realize when you're young. You always think you're going to be that outlier and you're going to be one. But yeah, you have to go somewhere you're going to play. I believe like development's great. You can develop staying here and being training with the Wildcats and or just training with the NBL1 team, playing NBL1 minutes, all that kind of stuff. Like playing really for me is what's going to differentiate.
Yeah. That's huge. And then so moving on from college, so even then, like a lot of people, like some people like just go to college might be their goal. They might not be as fussed about playing professional, but for most people, they go to college. Then the end goal is to play professional, which I presume is the case for yourself. Like again, viewing it in that way of like it's development, but this is like the stepping stone to the next thing. So I'm going to pick the situation that's right for me. So like moving from that college into trying to get to professional, what was that process like? Trying to find the right fit for you. Is that when the agent kind of comes into the picture? Like how does that look?
Yeah. So I had an agent help me. He just reached out over COVID and just gone back to college or NBL, and my college coach did a great thing by me and messaged me and said, look, the season doesn't look like it's going to happen. Like, look for opportunities back home, which one college coach would do that. Like, they didn't think I was going to come back. Like when all that went down, as soon as I went home, when COVID all hit. So I was a DP with the Cats for that season. That was hard because I knew I wanted to go back to college, and it meant like I couldn't be part of pretty much any of it. Like I could be here, but I couldn't travel with the team at all. And that was all the hubs, all that. So like from pre-season, and like see guys whenever they jump on a plane. I made that decision because I knew I wanted to go back to college and finish off that last year, and especially just because Coach Isaac believed in me and all that kind of stuff. I just really was like, no, I need to go back. So yeah, that, you know, is almost, it's like being a training player. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot out of it in terms of the development and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was the situation. And then went back to college, came out, didn't quite have the year I wanted. My second year at the college, like still pretty, like still good year, but you know, wanted to go in and just kill it and be like, hey NBL guys, like I'm here. So I just won the finals MVP and had a pretty good season in Perry Lakes. Like that was a really good team and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of felt like I was on the rise, and I stalled almost at the college just because of me. You know, I probably played a bit too much basketball and yeah, just my body let me down a little bit, mentally let me down a little bit, and didn't have the season I wanted to. But yeah, came back, was back into NBL 1, and yeah, kind of just had some more DP, a couple of DP options available in the NBL, and I was like, it's good, but DP is definitely hard. There's obviously the success stories, but like there's a lot more DPs compared to DPs which crack through every year. So I was like, is this, you know, especially, yeah, I was always just like, I want to explore going somewhere, like I want to travel. It's always been a thing to travel with basketball, play abroad. I'd already done it, I didn't have any fear, you know what I mean? Like I'd already been away for more time than I've been here. So like, yeah, I can do it. Because I think that's a big thing with like playing away. Like some guys just don't want to travel, which
been away from their family and friends,
which is totally understandable. But if you can do it, like that's a big plus. So yeah, it was just like NBL stuff, and then really late, another agent who's Reese's agent, Jeff McGuire, really good guy, and my mate Dan Breeder, he just rang them up and was like, what's Ferg doing? We've got an opportunity through, he has one of the coaches, Paul Bernard, a couple of coaches over there, running list of coaches in Japan, as well as some of the players in the UK as well. He's like, hey, like Paulie wants a guy just to be there because during the season, so long, injuries, like we had coaches practicing at times last year, and also like if an import goes down, like we can't get anyone in, so like have that backup, you know, reassurance that someone that kind of knows the system already there. And I was like, I could have jumped quick out of it. I was like, yes, like get me in there. Like Dave, Nick and Reese had talked to me about Japan and just give me the rundown. It seemed like such a good place to play, such a cool, like I've always been very interested by Japan, and yeah, it's just jumped on it, and yeah, went over there a couple of months later, spent time with Shimane. In terms of basketball, it was an ideal situation. I think a lot of basketball is situation, and I was back up a big guy, Nick Williams, who's been there for a long time, become naturalised, and he was like a good player, very good athlete, very just like traditional big man, like just rebounds, runs hard, like, you know, can catch the lobs, block shots, all that kind of stuff, which isn't really my game. So it was a bit like, I knew one, it was like the level was very good. Like I'm like, I can compete at this level, but like I got to be playing at my best. And it was like the worst possible style for me, like just not my game at all. You know what I mean?
We want you to be that big athletic guy. Like,
yeah, in practice. And I totally got it. Like it was like, you know, they're telling me like, don't take that shot, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I totally understand, because you want me to, you know, like fill in. I'm a training player. It's not about me at all. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to fit into this, you know, this square, and I'm a triangle, you know, it's just not, doesn't fit me. So yeah, I just slowly, at first I was kind of like, I'm just going to try and keep shooting these shots a little bit, like, you know, because I knew I needed to for my game, but they were just going to be, you know, this isn't, we don't want you shot eventually. I'm like, yeah, you know, but you're right. I need to just do, you know, what's right for that. And yeah, it was, anyway, one of the big guys did go down, came in, and yeah, just was wasn't a great situation. Like, wasn't, again, like just the level and not being able to play my game was just not a good fit. And played a little bit in the first game, had a really bad game, and we lost, probably because of me, to be honest. Stuck it up. And then, didn't really play after that, which was which is hard. But it's part of the game, you know. I think, again, it's just a resilience, like another thing to just, you know, keep showing up. And even though you know it's a bad situation, you pretty much straight away, like, they're about to reflect, like they're going to get somebody. Like after the first game, they're having these conversations. I was like, oh, this sucks.
I don't even speak Japanese, but I know what's going on.
You what's going on, just the vibe. So you just like after your first game, just like, man, like far out. Like it's just like, you know, there's no time to prove yourself at that level. Like it's high stakes and all that. And they brought in Nick Peter as an ex-NBA guy, and he replaced me. One thing which really helped me through that, I think, was just how I handled it. Like I just kept showing up, like didn't play, just, you know, took it on the chin, blah blah blah. And wait, a month later, was just back to they could have let me go, but they just kept me on as a practice player. And then a month later, they brought me, another team from B3 called up, called them up and said, we've just got rid of Aaron Bullock, what's this guy like, blah, 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 and they put in a good word, and went and played for Toyota.
Nice of them.
It was
this guy stinks.
Yeah, it was so nice of them, and like, that was an amazing situation for me. Like, the coach, Ollie, came in, he's just like, just play a game, and if it doesn't work, we'll try something, like, you know, I'll tell you not to do it, but if it works, then keep going. And I just shot some threes and played like a really unique import style, to be honest. Like, didn't try to like play one-on-one at all. Like, just like, you know, where I found all the other imports were trying to get their own, I just got into as many like actions as I could, and it really worked. Like, kind of getting other guys open, got me open, and just worked from there. And the coach and the system and the guys there all were like great, and really like just a really good culture and team. Again, it was awesome situation. So that was really nice after a grind of a few months.
Yeah, I think like even throughout this whole like storytelling of your career, like there's all these little moments where obviously they didn't have to put in a nice word for you and like do that, but obviously you showing up, like you've had that bad game, you didn't blame anyone else, like you took that on the chin, but then you continued to do the work, and it's like that's what made them put in a good word for you, because they know like, yeah, this guy's doing the work, like it's just not the right fit for us, but it's the right fit for someone else. And it's, I think, a good lesson, especially for younger guys. It's like, if that initial opportunity doesn't go your way, like making the most of what's available there, and then that's going to set you up for the next opportunity. And as much as it's luck, it's also being prepared to take on that opportunity too, because again, you could have gone, oh, I'm just a practice player now again, I'm just going to like be around practice, do whatever, but then you wouldn't have been ready for that opportunity as well. So it's just like throughout this, like you've had those little setbacks, but you've then kept yourself ready for whatever's next, and through that you're continuing to show yourself building that resiliency. And that's huge for like a younger player listening to this to like take away, you know, as much as things might not be going your way, that you can make the best of it. And it's exactly what we're saying, like in terms of at the very start, in terms of not riding that wave and keeping an even keel, and just knowing where your baseline is, keep showing up, put the work in, and then the opportunities will come. And it's like the luck will come with it. And oftentimes these success stories from the outside can be like, oh, it's just pure luck and it's all this, but it's like people working really hard behind the scenes to then make the most of the opportunities that are handed to them.
100%. Like, being 7 foot helps, but there's a lot of really tall, athletic and, you know, skilled guys. And when you get to, you know, professional levels, college, like every team has a tall, decent skilled guy. And I just think and talent, but not necessarily, you don't have to just be, like, it's not like on the mentality. It's just like control and controllables and that kind of stuff. Like just having a bit of that perseverance and just figuring out, okay, like I can't control a lot of things, but what I can control, like showing up and putting in a good effort and being being a good person to others, being a good teammate, like that is what you can control. So just try to lean on that. And I've been able to, get opportunities which more talented basketballers than me probably haven't, because of just those kind of things, and just being able to, like someone's going to be unselfish, play the right way, all that kind of stuff. Like I think it's so important. And I think especially in basketball, where it's like you get so much stress and anxiety from there's a lot of uncontrollable things in basketball that you can't control. If I can be as good as I want, but if LeBron James comes out there, I'm probably not going to be able to do it. You can't control your opponent. Can't control. Sometimes you just miss shots. Sometimes but you can control all that stuff. Like you can control the things I just talked about. You can control your energy, your how you lie to others, all those things.
Yeah, that's huge. So then moving on. So from that first season in Japan, if I recall correctly, then you came back to play NBL1 here. What was that like? So you played NBL1 prior to going to Japan in the first place, and then coming back to that level after experiencing something like you said at the very start, like that B3 is probably like a slight step above in terms of the quality. What was that like coming back? And then you've gone from big fish in a little pond to smaller fish in a medium-sized. Well, at the very start of Japan, you're that small fish in a big pond, then you've gone to be a medium-sized fish in a medium-sized pond, coming back to being the big fish in the small pond. So a lot of ponds. So for those following, you got pond one. What was it like coming back, obviously, to a familiar competition, same coach?
Yep.
Same coach, pretty much the same team?
Yep.
What was it like coming back, not down to this level, but like coming just back to...
Yeah, it's definitely not down, because again, it's just different, but I shouldn't have played, to be honest, just because I've just been going season to season for so long. Went NBL1, college straight into NBL1. It was can't remember the COVID competition that year.
Yeah. SBL, not even SBL.
Yeah, exactly.
Something.
Yep.
NBL1.
Yep. Then with Cats, NBL1, college, NBL1, Japan, NBL1, just a week or two's break in between it all, and just cook myself physically, mentally. In Japan is another level, because you played Saturday, Sunday, trained every one day off, trained hard every other day, proper practices, and it was just grueling season mentally and physically, even though I played half of it in the end. But yeah, I kind of knew that coming in, but I'd already signed with the Perry Lakes and loved the boys, loved the coach, loved playing for Perry Lakes. So I was and loved the passo. So I was just oh well, I'm going to play and try to kind of settle it down. It's only semi-professional. It's not like I'm training every single day and, blah, blah, blah. I can kind of not be my best in the shop. And it just wasn't true at all, but I was just trying to, justify it to myself. But realistically, just where I was at mentally, physically, I just needed a break. I was just cooked and kind of, not... I was really trying to focus on the gym and then really trying to look after my body. So not getting up a certain amount of shots and everything, and that was kind of what I built myself on before that, being the hardest work and getting those extra reps, and that was hard. I found that really hard. I just didn't perform to my best because I knew I knew
there was a little bit of that identity on putting that much work in, and then all of a sudden you're not putting that much work in, so then that self-doubt can kind of creep in a little bit.
Exactly, and just not being an all-in type person, and not being, I was obviously when you play and stuff, you're all in, what you're doing during the week and whatever. I knew I just needed a break, and it was not ideal in terms of that. That was my biggest kind of takeaway. Still, season, the team did pretty well, and all that kind of stuff, and it was great being able to play this. But as a person, I made the wrong decision in the end. But that's just such a hard thing to kind of know, like, you know, especially when you're still younger. Like,
you just want to play as much as
you just want to
possible.
play, and if you're not playing, you feel like I can play. I should be, you know, like it's hard to ever find that right balance, you know.
I think through this whole process, we haven't really, although the whole story, I haven't really touched on the injuries either. But even like if you are taking significant time out of playing due to injury, like when you have that opportunity, even more so, like put me in, like I want to play, and all that. I know, like in the past, even like short stints, you know, have a few weeks off because you've like tweaked your ankle or something. As soon as that opportunity comes, I'm like, I want to play as much as possible. So it's like definitely a big internal battle there.
100%, it's your job too.
Yeah,
you know, like,
livelihood. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like I was out for 4 months in Japan. Got an injury pretty early, just from it was an over-doing injury. And yeah, it's just like the whole time it's like, I need to come back there. And they were really good about it, but they're still asking me every week, when do you think you come back? And trying to, you know, push you to come back, and you're obviously feeling that pressure. And yeah, like it was hard because it was like, I knew I wasn't quite right in terms of I wasn't quite game ready, but like I was moving well, you know what I mean? Like it was
the team's like looking at you like, hey, he's moving well.
Exactly.
But
yeah. And it was like early and all that, and I ended up playing, and again, like it was fine. I played through a fair bit of pain for a couple of weeks, and there was one game where I was like, I'm cool, like I'm gonna redo it here, and I just didn't know what to do. Like I just played through it, and in the end it was fine. But yeah, it was, in hindsight, it was like I should have taken a few more weeks, but you just don't get that luxury. Well, you don't feel like you get that luxury. You have to.
Yeah, especially at a professional level,
Exactly.
like it's much less so compared to maybe semi-professional where that pressure on you isn't quite the same.
Yeah.
So going back to injuries, like all throughout, so you kind of briefly mentioned your foot, and you've had like little injuries, obviously, like in knees and stuff, in 7 foot, having this much load on your body, like you said, back to back seasons.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that? Like, has that impacted your development over the course of that time period? Was it like a blessing in disguise to an extent because you were able to focus on your body in those longer term injuries?
Yeah. I think I had a fair few when I was younger, especially the AIS, because they've got the science behind it. Like they're trying to build you up to the level and all that kind of stuff. But as a young kid, like stuff just happens, you know. Like those injuries, and it was probably out like a third of the time. I was at the tube, something like that. Up with foot fractures and stuff like that, and that was quite. Yeah, it was hard, but again, it's like you just learn. They did a really good job teaching you how to rehab like a professional, and that probably really served me as I went on. I think I've always done a pretty good job of like getting my prehab and that in. Like I've taken that pretty seriously, and was just told pretty early, like, you know, your body is your vehicle, like it's your job. You need to, that's your priority, like take care of that. So I think the injuries did help me in that regard early, to learn about that. And you play with some guys like professionally who've never had an injury. When it happens, they know how to deal with it, like, you know. So yeah, it kind of helps like that. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, like the silver lining to the injury.
Yes, it's hard to tell if it, you know, like really how much it can mess up your development or whatever. Like probably, but like, how can you measure that?
Exactly.
Like,
Experience what you experience. Yeah, I think that's like again huge. Obviously, the bias of being an S&C coach, and obviously a lot of what we focus is on physical development rather than like the team sport coach, and everything is going to be focusing more on that skill side. But like you touched on, especially if you're wanting to be a professional or you are a professional, your body is essentially your income. Like how you're able to perform is so crucial. So like putting that investment, whether that is like a monetary investment or just like the investment of the time and like doing the things that you know you need to do to get your body right. Like you mentioned, like the if you have an existing injury, or you as a 7-foot person are more going to be more prone to certain things like that prehabilitation. Not necessarily a huge fan of that word in the context and the kind of things that kind of it carries and how some people approach it. But like I think like the way you approach it is very good, and like it's you're not preventing anything per se, but you're getting your body right to be able to perform its best, and even for someone who's wanting to be a professional, like the likelihood that you're going to be going from season to season to season, like putting that investment in your body early on so that you can handle all that load is crucial as well.
100%. Yeah, it was really nice as I started earning a bit of money from basketball, like just this past season in Japan, but I could invest in having all your coaching online, and just having you to just obviously do all my workouts, but also manage that, talk to me through the injury, all that kind of stuff. Like that was so helpful, being able to invest in like your whoops and this really helped me think more about my sleep, and just reassured me like I actually am pushing the limit every day, like as a professional athlete, like you're not doing normal loads, so I need to be making sure my recovery and all that's on point. It just gives you a metric to that, which I found helpful. But yeah, it was really cool kind of being able to invest more in that as you go on. Yeah, I don't think like if you want to, make this a career, I don't think you can invest enough in your own skill set. Like it's like a career, like it's going to be perfect.
In the same way that like if you're an accountant or something, like you're going to be investing in maybe some sort of continuing education to, like same as a coach, like I'm investing in continuing education, making sure I'm upskilling constantly so that I can, improve my coaching, like the same way that you want to be investing in like a skills coach to teach you the skills, or like even we haven't really touched much on, but like that mindset side of things. Like I know did you do any work with Nat?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah.
Because you obviously worked for her for a little bit.
Yeah.
How did that like mindset kind of stuff fit into everything?
Yeah, so I think pretty early on, like about start of college, I reckon, I started going, okay, like I'm struggling, like there's a few things here, like one, just general like mental health type stuff, just normal stuff is one, like being away from family, like the homesickness, and then the expectations and the pressure, as college, like just stuff which comes with, trying to perform at the top level. So yeah, it was very like when I saw sports psych at the AIS, and that was my first real thing with that. She helped so much, and mostly just with like this homesickness and like her imposter syndrome of it and that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, no, that's actually pretty good. Like before that, I hope the stigma's changing a little bit, but I was definitely like, I can't tell anyone that I'm struggling. Yeah. Like that's good. Like they're gonna think I'm not up to it and all that kind of stuff. But as I've gone on, I was like, oh no, like I found more and more that like Kobe used to do like mindfulness retreats. Like after the season, do like meditation. Like Jordan had a mindset guy. Like all these guys, like actually, and all these athletes in all different spheres, like do invest in these people. And yeah, really took to that, and really started going, you know what, like the mental side, people talk about it, like the mental side is so much of the game, but like no one wants to touch it. Like coaches don't want to talk about it, players don't talk about it with each other, that kind of stuff. Like, and we're not practicing it. Like I know strength, I know skills, and strength is a big part of the game. So I have a strength coach and I have a skills coach. You know what I mean? I practice every day. I'm not practicing anything mentally on the mental side. So I started to explore that more and kind of found my own kind of people and things which helped. Like there's so many resources now, like the Resilience Project. He talked to us when we were at AIS. That also helped start on this journey, and he talked about like gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness, and practicing those every day. So 3 gratitude things, so 3 things you're grateful for every day. Empathy is finding a way to help someone every day, and mindfulness is practicing mindfulness, like just either doing breath work or some sort of mindfulness for a couple of minutes a day. And I tried to really practice that through college and through professional, and then just building on that, like lots of good resources like Bectron, Mojo Crow, and then right here in Perth is now, I think 2021 or 2, don't quote me, she started her own business through it, and it's all the same things, like I said, about working on the mental side of the game, doing mentoring sessions, all that kind of stuff, and you go through all the good stuff like goal setting, using, I don't know, I can't think of it, visualization, yeah, like, you know, like a bunch of different things. There's so many different things, and yeah, so I was like, I want to get on board that, really passionate, and so first off, did some work with her, which was great, and then, started working with a few clients with her, and it was really cool, and I think it's so helpful. Like, it's crazy to me that, again, we invest so much in other areas and we don't put that same investment into the mental side, and everyone knows Kobe's, like, my mentality is your mental side.
Yeah, I think, like, even like what you said before, is like how much effort he put into cultivating that as well. Like, a lot of people just assume, oh, Mamba mentality, like he's just like that, or like Jordan, like that's just who they are. And even like this whole, like your whole story, it's just like you could look back and be like, oh, that's just who Ferg is. Like, he can deal with adversity, but it's like there's different things that cultivated that throughout, and then in those later stages, as you like actively kind of sought that out and invested in it and put time into it, just the same as these guys did. And like the Mamba mentality was cultivated through work,
100%.
not just who he is. And obviously there's an element of that, and everyone's got the same way, like you're athletically gifted in a certain way, or like physically gifted in a certain way, and mentally gifted in a certain way, but you can still cultivate those things to your advantage.
And I find it crazy too, like everyone thinks the Mamba mentality is such a hard, like masculine alpha type thing. He said in this interview, so a couple of years ago, I was like, that is unreal. Like, he was like, the best thing which ever happened to my career, something along this line, was like his dad being like to him, like, I don't care if you score 0 points or 30 points, like, I just love watching you be out there in the way. And he was like, that release of expectations and knowing, like, no matter what happens, like, my dad's got me, you know what I mean? Like, the people that matter have got me. That was like such a huge experience for me. I had to go out there and play so well. And it's like, for me, like, it's not all hard-edged resilience, toughness, like that stuff. Like, you can cultivate the other side of that, and acceptance, and like a growth mindset, all those kind of things. And the best guys are actually, even though you might only see the rah-rah and the, you know, or the carry on, like, there's another side behind it too.
Yeah, and even like, I think like with the gratitude stuff as well, like with the resilience project stuff is like fantastic. And like the gratitude side of things, like, can get a bad rap because of some of the people who kind of promote it, and maybe not necessarily in the right way. I'm thinking like the something that comes along with that, but it's like those softer skills, I guess you kind of like label that kind of stuff as, but those softer like skills of being able to be grateful for things, like that just changes your outlook on the situations you have. And then again, throughout any situation that's thrown at you, you're more able to make the most of the opportunities that you have, and get even greater ability to keep an even keel when there are those ups and downs, and you're not riding the waves of all that kind of stuff. And I think that's super powerful. So for like, especially for any younger athletes, like listening to this, like if you're in that earlier stage of your career, like as much as you're investing in your skills, your body, like it's just as important to invest in that mind.
Yeah, 100%.
I reckon that's a good place to finish on. Okay. Did you have any, obviously like we kind of touched on throughout, like little things, that little nuggets that a younger athlete or a younger Ferg could have taken away? Is there anything else off the top of your head?
Yeah, for sure. I think one is what we just talked about, like invest in that mental side, like as early as you can. I wish I invested earlier than most other guys, and I think it really helped me. But I wish I could have invested in it earlier. Like, I probably wasted so much of my juniors, like just being like anxious and like scared to mess up and all that kind of stuff. And that's always been a big thing for going forward, like just working on the mental side of it and being like cultivating that growth mindset, and that I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to be perfect. And yeah, it's just like, I think about, man, like I wonder how different it would be again. Like, wouldn't change anything, but like I wonder how different it could be if I just had the information of like, just give it a crack, man, have fun. Like, don't, it's under 12, it's like 14, well, it's domestic, like it doesn't matter. I mean, it's, you know, just go out there and play. And I think everyone has that to a degree, but I think you can always get better at not just that, the mental side of it. Definitely, like, just have fun when you're young, like, you know, that kind of thing. Like, you got to work hard, but don't buy into the sheep station side of it. I'd say, like, you obviously should always like play for your team, play hard, play to win, but it's not like results aren't do or die when you're young. Like, I definitely got caught up in that a bit too much. You know, just play for the right reasons, play to get better, play with mates, all that stuff. I wish I did that a little bit better. And I think too, just asking questions. Like, when I was a kid, for whatever reason, I thought I had to know everything. Like, I think there's times I think back, I'm just like, I didn't want to ask coach a question because, you know, like, to let them know that I can do something, you know. And I'm like, that's so stupid. Like you're 12. I know, and like, so even like that's the stuff you're just like, and they're like, these coaches watch so much film, they know better than you what you can do and what you can't do. Like, you're not giving away your secrets. Like, I can't. I'm struggling with this.
Yeah, so they probably know that you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just ask questions. Like, I think that's big. Like, as much information as you can get, so we get good for that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ferg.
I hope I didn't ramble too much.
Yeah, I think we both rambled a fair bit. But if anyone made it this far, thank you.